Why don't we go ahead and get started if we can? We have a very busy agenda this evening. Could we have people's attention so we can get started with the meeting? Thank you. So welcome to the Park Board meeting, Thursday, July 13th. And we have done roll call, Sarah, so you're aware of who is and isn't here. No additions or deletions to the agenda that I'm aware about. So we will move to the consent agenda. We have 5 action items on the consent agenda. Is there any board member that would like to edit the current consent agenda? If not, we move to approve the current consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilman Bingle.
Barry had a hand up for a minute.
So any questions? I don't think Nick does.
He took it down.
All right, we will put it to the vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Thanks, Nick. Any opposed? All right, that passed unanimously. Special guests, we have none listed, so we will move to the financial report and budget update from Rich Lentz. Take it away, Rich.
Thank you. All right, June financials. You guys look great, great colors today.
I mean, you two too, Rich. I mean, like you came off the golf course or something.
Okay.
Oh, darn.
So I think a quick high-level update is just a reminder that city and park employees are paid every other week. So 2 months of the year, there will be 3 pay periods. So June was one of those. December will be the second. And if you're comparing anything over last year that was July and December. So a bit of a bump in expenditures in June. And that will even out a bit next month when we see that catch up with what happened last year. But other than that, everything was really trending in line as expected. You can see the first 2 lines there in gray. Those are expenditures, so we are trending ahead of the 2-year budget average. But then also looking at the middle 2 green there for revenues, also trending well ahead of the 2-year revenue budget average. And I noted in there some of that is the 3-day pay period. So likewise, when we get our general fund transfer, we get that transfer every pay period. So in a 3 pay period month, we have an increase in general fund transfer. And then we did see increases in revenue from both the recreation and riverfront side as well. So you put all that together, you get the last 2 bars there on the right with revenues about 11.6 million and expenses about 10.3 million. So trending positive about 1.35 million for the year. That is park side. Golf side is equally exciting. So they had a record-setting June. So you can see the gray there, expenses, trending right in line with budget averages. They don't have that offsetting benefit of a general fund transfer, so they did have increases in wages with the 3 pay periods. But you can see in the middle there, they had a record-setting month with almost $950,000 in revenue. So huge month for them, $237,000 increase over last June. So people are out and golfing. And then the last 2 there on the right, golf is now revenues exceeding expenditures by $527 for the year, excluding the facility improvement fee and that debt payment. With that in there, they're about $630 net positive for the year. And then just a snapshot of their dashboard. So just over 62,000 18-hole rounds played. So you can see we're ahead of the 2022 totals. Looking at the past 5 years, the only year that was higher than that was 2021. But then just a reminder, we did increase greens fees since then. So that bottom graph there, if you're looking in dollars, cumulative revenue, we're ahead of pace from the last 5 years. So all good things in parks and golf. Any questions on any of that?
Well, thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Boy, that was quick.
Well done. You explained so well, we couldn't come up with a question.
No, no red marks. Thanks, Rich.
Since we have a little larger audience than we normally do, just to clarify one thing about golf. golf is considered an enterprise fund, which means it pays all of its own expenses. There are no tax dollars going into the golf courses and so on. It's, I guess you can look upon it, it's basically based on user fees. Those who golf pay for the courses and the loan that was taken out to improve the irrigation systems and so on. So that's how golf operates. It's the only department within, parks that does that. All right, so our next subject is going to be special discussion items. I'm sure that's why we have
An audience.
more people here tonight to listen to those. There are 3 of those. Some clarification to the board members. We're here to listen to those. If we decide to, we can also vote on each one of those. We can move them to an action item and vote on them tonight. So we'll make our call on that as after we listen to each one. At some point, I believe all 3 will need to be voted on. So if you feel comfortable, we can do that at this meeting. So anyway, we'll start with our first one, and that would be the resolution withdrawing the previous selection of Upriver Park, as the location for a community dog park. I won't read it all. Nick, we'll just turn it over to you.
And Bob, if I could just clarify real quick too, just from a staff recommendation on all 3 of these items, it would be a staff recommendation if the board feels comfortable to vote on all 3 of these special discussion/action items today.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Here again with the latest in dog parks for you. There's a lot of it, obviously, that you know, so we're not going to go through and rehash all of the history of dog parks in the city of Spokane. It's been quite lengthy over the last, I would say, year, 15 months. What we know is that we had done some good work with the project advisory committee. We came up with 42 potential sites. We're looking for some community dog park sites, specifically as a replacement to offset the loss that was happening at the unofficial South Hill Dog Park. Out of the numerous sites that were proposed on the South Hill and then even moving north, each one of those encountered sort of similar criticisms and comments on, and reasons, really good reasons for why neighbors would oppose those locations. So of course, Lincoln, Underhill, Hazels Creek, sites in the county, and Highbridge and Upriver had all been considered previously, and we landed on Upriver. The park board did land on that site at one point here back in May. I circle in red Highbridge and Upriver as those were the sort of top 2 second round sites. And the reason you see that is because all these X's that are the really good big blue park sites for dog parks that were available just ran into some pretty significant criticisms for using that amount of space for dog parks. So initially, Upriver Park, as you know, was supported by the Minnehaha Neighborhood Council, a number of user groups that used that space, and it was opposed by the neighbors adjacent to that site, and it was opposed by South Hill users, those that weren't interested in traveling that far north. Can't blame them for that either. So, and of course, part of the resolution in May was to try and provide some neighborhood dog park service to the neighbors right near Mullen Road with a new neighborhood dog park site. And so that was about a 1.8 acre facility there at 63rd and Regal. That is, was accepted by the board in May, and we're not proposing any change with that. So we are planning to proceed with that installation as originally allocated. So once we selected Upriver Park, there was a caveat to that, and that was we want you to conduct staff an additional neighborhood workshop, gathering some preferred design solutions which best mitigate potential impacts on neighbors. So we did do that. We did hire our consultant to generate concepts for this dog park. Some were bigger, some were smaller with more generous buffers between the neighbors in attempts to address those concerns and try and provide a dog park anywhere between 5 and 10 acres in size that we could really utilize that space while being respectful of the natural environment that was there. And of course, through that process, here's what we learned. The Minnehaha Neighborhood Council, who was previously supported, was no longer supportive. The user groups were sort of mute on that. Not a lot of change from them. They weren't really engaged. They were kind of working on other things at the same time. The neighbors adjacent to the site certainly opposed to the idea still. There were still South Hill users that were not interested in traveling north. And then the majority of our neighborhood workshop participants were really in opposition to sort of any of the solutions that we were generating at that location.
can I jump in real quick?
Sure, Jonathan.
So can you go back to the last one, the last slide here?
Yeah.
Because supported by should also include there were more neighborhood councils that jumped in and were still supportive of at the time. So the Bemis, Whitman, and Hilliard. Were
Yes,
still
thank you for
supportive.
that.
Yeah.
So there were other neighborhood councils in District 1 supportive of that installation. We haven't heard a change in that from them. We've reached out but haven't heard anything formal from them. We have heard from Minnehaha neighborhood that is supportive of a change away from upriver. So what have we heard? And we took a moment to really reflect on what is the program of a dog park? Is this formula right? Why are we running into these issues everywhere we go? Participants largely opposed everything we showed at Upriver Park. What we're hearing is that there is more widespread interest in the preservation of natural land or land as it is today than there is in the generation of a big dog park. We see that everywhere we go. And we don't necessarily see that as being specific to natural land, but just a specific of dedication of that amount of land to dog parks in general in one location. We haven't found that magic bullet yet. And everywhere we go, we run into neighbors who are adjacent to these sites that are vehemently opposed to it. And one of the things we've realized is that there was something really special happening at the unofficial South Hill Dog Park, where you had neighbors on board to use a space, and we can't manufacture those neighbors around a dog park site when we're just sort of picking government property. So that's something that is difficult to recreate. There's another piece to the work that we've done over the last couple of months, one of which is really an in-depth permit summary and analysis. We've been through a pre-development a pre-development conference. We've thoroughly evaluated those regulations. One of the things we learned was that the city itself had the shoreline area in this part of town mapped wrong. And so what we showed is the shoreline buffer, what our building department thought was the buffer, was actually more area than they showed. And it wasn't until our conference when we proposed a parking lot that they said, hey, wait a minute, we think this is wrong. So what that means for us is that we would have to push a parking lot way up into this site, consuming a lot of the area that we would use as a dog park to build a parking lot. And so that shrinks the available area we have for dog use to be able to accommodate the parking lot use a certain distance away from the river. We also have some very practical requirements anytime you work within the shoreline. Any trees, any vegetation we remove in those areas need to be replaced at a certain ratio. And the difficulty at the upriver site is water, of course, not having the availability of water. And what that means for us is watering those plants, paying somebody to go water those plants rather than turning on a sprinkler system. And there's a cost associated with that. So that's a practicality reason why that's going to make some things a little bit more challenging, definitely doable, but challenging. And then frontage improvements. The permitting department would like to treat this like any other city property. They would like us to construct curb, gutter, street trees, and basically roadway improvements all the way along the frontage of this property. That adds significant cost to the development of a dog park, and it's something that would make it really difficult to achieve. So from a permitting standpoint, there are some challenges that we've encountered, all of which could probably be mitigated over a period of time with the right amount of planning, with the right approach. What we'd recommend at this point, in order to improve some level of dog park service in this city, is to withdraw that previous selection of the Upriver Dog Park due to the combination of public concern and the permit restrictions. And the other thing we're thinking about here, for context, is this wonderful Make Beacon Hill Public Phase 2 project that we've got planned immediately adjacent to that dog park. The city is planning on building, close to $3 million worth of trailheads and improvements right in this same area. And we want to make sure we do that well and don't take away from the momentum from those users by forcing too much at the same time. And so we want to be sensitive to that. So we looked back at what are our other options. High Bridge really is the best option for us in terms of size. Now, there are some impacts to going to High Bridge instead of Upriver Park. And of course, I think the most obvious one is it's not new. It's not an add of a facility. It doesn't enhance if you remember, our study said each district, 1, 2, and 3, should have a community dog park. It does move closer to the South Hill. It is within, well, I think most recently, might have been switched to District 3, but I believe anything south of the river was District 2 at that time. So looking at this facility, it is 5-10 minutes closer to many of the folks that are using or would have used the unofficial South Hill Dog Park. The other thing here is I think it shows that we listen to people. And it's important in parks not to be sort of forcing improvements where they're not wanted. And so in the recreational industries, we're looking at how do we serve what people are asking us to do. Well, we have a dog park site at Upriver, or excuse me, at High Bridge. And the thing we've heard is there are concerns with some safety issues. There are concerns with it not having adequate resources, not being built up in a manner that's really it's the community's expectation for the quality of what that facility should or could be. And that our users would like to see us address those safety concerns, those parking concerns, those improvements within that facility that we can address with the funding we have available. We have confirmed it's outside the shoreline jurisdiction, so we won't have any of those shoreline permitting issues that we would have encountered again here at Upriver. And so we really look at a recommendation to significantly improve what dog park we have, make it usable in a way by more folks than are currently using it. And we really look at a location where we don't have neighbors right next door that we're looking at this and thinking, you know, gosh, I don't really want this thing here. We have a dog park, we can make it better. That's a significant improvement for the users and a significant improvement for us. If we had other options that were closer, we would certainly be pursuing those, but this really, after sort of beating our head against a wall, for lack of a better term, over the last year and a half, is probably the best bang for our buck in terms of delivering that dog park service. And if you remember, we're still committed to that neighborhood dog park up at 63rd and Regal. It's the biggest amount of area that we have available to build on. And we have heard, you know, one of the things we heard, just to sort of round this out, and I think it's one of the biggest criticisms I've heard of High Bridge, outside of you need to address some things in terms of safety and improvements, which we can do, is, gosh, couldn't we build a dog park on the landfill? And that's what we wanted to do at the beginning, and for any number of sort of environmental permitting related and sort of practical sort of maintenance related reasons, that was not an option to us. And so what I want to reiterate, though, is that building a neighborhood dog park at 63rd and Regal doesn't preclude us from, at some point in the future, pursuing that idea of a community dog park up on the South Hill landfill or the North Side landfill. So we can still continue to pursue those sorts of opportunities. They're just not practical to us today. So this is the best recommendation we can make as staff. It's hard for us to come back to you and say we'd like to undo something that we've recommended in the past, but we believe it to be the right decision for the user. So that's the staff presentation. I don't know if there's comments, questions.
Yeah, certainly we would like each one of the board members that has a comment to do so. And for those in the audience here today, there is the opportunity to build one dog park. That's all this one will be financed by the school district, and it was based on an agreement with the South Hill Dog Park users. For those who want, well, let's go ahead and build a smaller one here and a smaller one there. Parks does not currently have the funds to do that, and the funds are not projected to be there really anytime soon based on our current environment. So again, this is the one opportunity. There isn't well, let's build another one here and another one there. That currently won't happen. So open it up to any board members that have comments, thoughts on this.
And could I just add a couple
Certainly.
items too? So I had the opportunity to give, again, shifting to High Bridge, had the opportunity to speak with the chair of the West Hills neighborhood, the chair of the Peaceful Valley neighborhood, Spokanimal as well, because you remember there, and this is another advantage, they're an operational partner in this facility, and then also was able to chat with our partners at the American Indian Community Center as well. And so I think there's a ton of advantage of bringing all those together and the momentum around the American Indian Community Center and looking at win-win solutions as well. If we're investing in the dog park, then having their team a part of that process as well. So we're not duplicating services. We're looking at the long-term vision of that site, and then with the trail system as well, with the Fish Lake Trail extension coming down into this area, the connection into the South Gorge Trail, and the Centennial Trail, and then with the council just passing the final link under the Monroe Street Bridge, and we just passed a construction contract to move forward with that project as well. So there's a lot of positive energy to make this special and move forward. And just to reiterate what Bob was speaking, we're not giving up on dog parks, but it might look a little different and be a part of a bigger context and a part of a bigger discussion when we look at ways to implement our master plan moving forward.
All right, board members?
I have a question, Bob.
Yes.
So did you say that the funding from the school district for replacement park would not be applicable to the investment in Highbridge Park?
No, that's not what I meant. It just, there's a time, we have the opportunity to do one dog park that they will fund. After that, it's not like parks can go out and start building other dog parks. That may change in the future, but based on our current budget environment, that opportunity does not exist right now.
So we're just allocating that funding to Highbridge as a.
Yes.
Yes.
It would be a move from upriver or whatever to High Bridge. Others, please. Councilman Bingle?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's here tonight. I'm glad that you all were able to make it to see how the board is going to decide today. But I'm born and raised in the Northeast. I went to Rogers High School. You know, we grew up pretty angry. We felt and we continue to feel as if the city hasn't been investing in the Northeast. And so as this process played out and the ability to secure one in the Northeast came up, I was very excited. I was a huge proponent of this and was really looking forward to having something in the Northeast that nobody else in the city had, that finally we had a destination where people were wanting to come into my neighborhoods and maybe choose it to be their home and be establishing their families there. But my job as a representative of the Northeast, I see it in really two capacities, to educate and to represent. As we went through this process and tried to work with the neighborhoods and the neighbors and things like that, in the end, really the decision from the neighborhood councils and the neighbors was, we appreciate your efforts, but we don't want it. And when we look at the number of sites that had been selected before and the precedent that had been set of when the neighbors said they didn't want it, we decided to move on. For me, it had to be that we couldn't choose this site because we'd already sort of set the precedent and what was to happen. And so really thankful to the staff who put all the time and effort in. I think you guys really were trying to reach out to the neighborhoods and hear what they had to say and to listen to them and to their feedback. And I think that's very present in the presentation that was just given. And so I appreciate it all. I will continue to try to find a site for a dog park in the Northeast because I want us to have it. But in the end, I think that we do need to choose Highbridge and move on from upriver. And so I hope that that's the way that this vote goes today.
Other comments?
I wanted to say thank you to staff, particularly Nick Hammond. This has been a grueling process, a lot of work. 18 months, 20 months worth of work? And in some of these workshops, our staff was treated very badly, and that's really not okay. He's a professional. They all are professionals. They're doing the job that they were asked to do in response to public surveys and the master plan and all that sorts of things. And I think we need to remember that nobody gets rich being a civil servant, and these people work really hard on our behalf. So let's all work on being a little more professional in the future as to how we regard staff. And Nick, I just wanted to really say thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Other comments?
I have one quick
Please.
one. Anyway, while we've been pursuing this and the staff has been looking, Highbridge has kind of been a hidden gem. And the problem with it, I think, or the controversy might be that, well, nobody goes there anymore. One of the things that we do have now, and I think it's very important because I live in a neighborhood where we have parks and we have a lot of different people attending that particular area. And I know, and we were told, we worked with Justin, with the park rangers regarding Cliff, and he said, we need to get lots of different people coming. We need to get more activities. We need to be able to occupy that space. Because if we're occupying that space, and I can't think of anything better than dogs occupying the space down High Bridge. I mean, we are going to have the tribe there. We're going to have a variety of other avenues of opportunity. So what we're going to bring to High Bridge, which you wanted, will be an invitation to come and explore new things. It's a gorgeous area. The river's close by. I mean, the dogs can even go swimming, and so I'm really excited to work with the tribe and all the other people that are supporting us and really valuing what we're striving to do. Thank you.
Other comments? Greta?
I have a few comments and then a question. I'll start with my comments. I'd like to echo what Jennifer said about staff. It's been a rough process. Sometimes the process doesn't always go as smoothly as we'd like, and this wasn't an easy one, and I admit I'm one of the people that was kind of tough on Nick throughout the process, and he was always very professional and very helpful and did a great job, so thanks a lot, Nick. I would like to echo what Jerry said. I think High Bridge Park is an area that could use some more activation. And then last, I have a question, which is, what is the community input process for High Bridge? Are we going to have similar workshops or discussion at park board or committees? Or because I'd like to hear what the neighbors say about High Bridge too. And
I can address that. So one of the things we hadn't gotten to yet really with any of the other sites is the actual design process. And so what we'd like to do is begin the design process at a site. We're hoping and recommending that to be High Bridge. If that's the case, then we will engage our partners at the West Hills neighborhood, at the Peaceful Valley neighborhood, at the AICC, for example, and form a group of folks, and of course include the Friends of the South Hill Dog Park and host a similar sort of opportunity for them to engage in design. So what we don't know yet is if that's a bunch of public open houses, a couple of public open houses, an online survey on, hey, here's the things coming to High Bridge, why don't you come down and see? But one thing we can guarantee is there will be public opportunity and neighborhood-based opportunity to engage in this process and continue to positively sort of help us determine what the most important needs at that location are.
so if we're to act today and say we approve of taking back our decision on Upriver and moving forward on High Bridge, that's not the end of the story. There's still going to be more.
That's when we start putting our schedule together to get this designed and constructed. Yes.
Right, thank you.
Have you already reached out to those neighborhoods? I thought I heard you say that earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I reached out and talked to each one of the neighborhood chairs and then our user groups and partners in that adjacent area.
I was about to say I see West Hills in attendance over here, so.
Oh, good.
Christina, Nick, I know you're both online. Do you have any comments? Any thoughts on it?
No further comments from me.
No comments. I support it going into High Bridge. I said that in a previous meeting too. I think it'd be good for the West Hills neighborhood to have some positive things going on in the park down there.
My thoughts on it, I would certainly like to see neighborhood input. I'd like to have the neighborhood actually ask to have this built within their neighborhood. To be quite honest, and this may not be what others like to hear, but we've had support. We've had support in letters and so on, and we voted based on that, and then that support's been pulled. That's not a fun feeling for us as a board to do, and then you get all the critical comments and so on. Somehow we need to know that the neighborhood wants it, and the neighborhood's going to continue to want it. Not again have a small group come up and say, no, it shouldn't be here, and then everything turns. And we don't have a lot of other opportunities. And I hate to even have park staff invest the time to investigate this and get an initial favorable response, and then again have that turn, because then there's really nowhere else to go that I'm aware of. We spent a lot of time as an initial committee when we were looking at sites, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. There were the comments that, well, there were 4 South Hill sites that were turned down by the South Hill, and that's a very inaccurate statement. 2 of the South Hill sites just were basically wetlands that the only thing they had going for them was their size. We couldn't have built a dog park on them. Underhill just was not at all conducive based on the land itself. So we really had one choice, and again, that neighborhood decided they didn't want it either. So, I don't know if we can make some kind of a tentative motion that says we're willing to look at this, but we're not committing to it. I don't know how things can work, but I would much prefer to have it that than come out and say, yeah, let's build it there, and then we hear 2 weeks from now that, no, we don't want it.
And I would just add, one advantage is it's not a change of use currently. So
No.
we have a dog park there.
Right.
That originally the neighborhoods did invest in and support. But we'll continue to work with those neighborhoods. I think it really comes down to what is the type of investment in amenities that are those top priorities
That they would like.
that they would like to
Yeah.
see in those improvements that where we see positive results.
Garrett, did you say that you spoke with the South Hill Dog Park group about Highbridge?
Our team did, yes.
Your team did,
Yep.
and it was positive?
I'll let Nick.
I can speak to that a little bit. So we've met with the South Hill group a number of times. When we last had a public workshop with the whole group, they were really choosing between 2 options that were farther away than they probably wanted them to be, right? And that would be Upriver and Highbridge. And Upriver was the choice of that group at that time. There were some that preferred Highbridge, but majority preferred Upriver, and that was because of the addition of a new facility and the perception at Highbridge being one that maybe this isn't quite as safe as we want it to be, or it's not as nice and I don't want to go down there. And so I think the preference of that group would be to be much closer. But unfortunately, the best opportunity there was Lincoln, which we chose not to do. And so this is the closest and best option. Now, we've touched back with the board of the Friends of the South Hill Dog Park, 2 of whom are in attendance here today, I think at least 2. And what we heard was, this is probably the only best option we have. Without considering some sort of a pilot project to, take a regular park to off-leash area at certain hours of the day, which is always something we could consider. But I think when we look at it, it's the best option we have to get something for the dog users close to where they are, in addition to the neighborhood facility that's right at the South Hill facility. So really what I would say is, I'm not going to come to you and say, it's a glowing recommendation, yes, all of the Friends of the South Hill love this idea. They would love to have one right next to where they were originally located, and this is not that. Is this the best we can probably provide for them with the constraints that we have? Absolutely. That's our staff opinion.
And our investment in Highbridge would not preclude the pocket park that we discussed being built next to the middle school?
That is still happening either way.
Yeah.
Yep, that will still be constructed.
Thank you.
Barb?
I don't want to be out of order here, but do we, and public comment is later in the agenda, but do we have anyone here that would like to make comment regarding this before the vote? Therefore, we would have a little bit more information? Is that?
I was going to address that. So thank you.
I was reading your mind.
Future park board president.
On the agenda, the public comments are listed in Section 9, which is what our bylaws state. We do have the ability, to change the order of business, and that I see all 4 public comments are on the dog park, whether they're on Upriver or, I'm not sure. But, so we will go ahead and we will move them up to be at the end of this discussion. So we will go ahead and, if there's no further comments from the board members, we will move them up to right now.
You're fine.
All right. Hopefully, I will do my very best to get these names correct, but the first one was William Hoag, or Haig. I'm sorry, William, if I got it wrong, but please come up and give us your thoughts. We certainly would appreciate it. If we could limit these all to 3 minutes, would be great.
Just to add to, because this can go quite lengthy, we are going to stick to our 3 minutes, so I would appreciate that. We'll have Garrett doing some timing, and then I will kindly remind you.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to speak and give testimony, and I would like to extend a great amount of appreciation to the Parks Board, as well as Garrett Jones, Nick Mann, been very responsive for concerns and constituent concerns throughout West Hills. I'm William Hagee, the West Hills Neighborhood Council Chair. The current dog park at A Street is in dire need of improvements, environmental improvement by design, and this is actually part of Highbridge Park, which is in extreme need and danger of environmental damage that's been ongoing for years. The amount of arson fires and deaths surrounding the area with close proximity and the road being closed itself, I do feel that this is an ideal opportunity to bring more public health and safety, heightened levels of environmental access, trail access, Latah Creek, the wilderness corridor that comes through West Hills to Latah, which all tributary waters. There's long-standing heron colonies, eagles, egret, there's everything. Moose, deer, they all rely on these waters. And currently, the amount of illegal dumping, public camping, environmental damage, arson fires, and nefarious activities, we do feel, West Hills Neighborhood Council, as well as our constituents, that a positive influx to this area, as well as the improvements of the existing dog park, there's not any opposition to the dog park that's in existence, and I think there'd be a tremendous amount of support from our constituents for improvements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very much appreciated.
Positive.
Leonard Silvaggio.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll keep to my 3 minutes this time.
Thank you.
And not go over. Real short and to the point. We support the recommendation that Nick outlined, and we appreciate the opportunity that we've been given by the park, by Jonathan, to not only listen to us, but also hear the input from the neighborhood. We also, in addition to being a small group of people, we have 375 people who have signed the petition opposing a dog park in that area. Well, I'd like to submit a letter supporting the resolution, so I'll give this to you when I'm done. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judith Gammon.
I just want to urge you to support this resolution. I think it's the best solution for a very difficult problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Judith.
Melissa Whitstruck.
Good afternoon, Park Board members. That wasn't that hard, was it? I was going to give you some pictures of an idea that the South Hill Park users had for using additional buffer area next to the landfill. Not the landfill, I want to be very clear. I understand very closely, being a retired civil servant, that Parks Department staff have had a difficult time, and they inherited a legacy issue when the city transferred land to SPS without public input really from the users who have been using it for the last 25 years, 365 days a year for the most part, and I've been using it for 13. I understand it's unofficial, but it has been signed, and the users at the dog park have been very, very good about self-regulating. We call in when there's lights out. We try to address the very few transient population members that use the parking lot there. The parking lot is full beginning at 6 o'clock almost every single day of the year, and then throughout the day. And it's all ages, and children, and to retirees like myself. So I just want to make a plug for that because there is some buffer that's not being used. We do not want to interfere with the landfill whatsoever, understanding the constraints around that and the costs associated with it. I guess it'll be some time before it could be used for that, so that's understood. But there still is buffer area outside of what is being taken up by Spokane Public Schools. And so we're very interested in that. We understand that 1.8 acres are being assigned for a small neighborhood park, but you do need to think about the fact that we have Great Danes, Russian Wolfhounds, very big labs, Chihuahuas, Schnauzers, and the 1.8 acres is really hard to mix it up like that. And when you consider the amount of room that we've had and going to a very, very small substitute to make us feel like we've been made whole after using it for, some people have been using it for 20, 25 years. So that's very difficult, and so I'd appreciate the opportunity I will send Nick the PowerPoint map that I have just to show we're not talking about anything in the landfill area whatsoever. There's additional buffer area. Some of the buffer area has been disturbed by the middle school construction. We also want to make it clear that we do support Spokane Public Schools, and we understood that there was a need for it. It's unfortunate that there wasn't enough input and participation with the groups that use it and have used it, and the community that's been formed. These people have been friends for 20 years plus. And when somebody's dog dies or is sick, we're there helping them, moving it along. They volunteer. We have retired
thank you,
nurses
Melissa.
and educators. So we do support the schools. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And we certainly appreciate the concerns of the South Hill Dog
Yes.
Park. You know, they lost a lot, and I know there's the school district as well as others are doing the best to get you what you can. I probably would assume that after the school is built would be a good time to look and see what's available. But anyway, thank you very much. We have one more, Jill Jenkins.
Hello, I live on the South Hill, and I've been attending the South Hill Dog Park for a bit, and we have a nice English setter, and we enjoy the flat, open sunset view there, and I appreciate all the struggles of finding the right place and the right time, and I've emailed Garrett Jones a couple times, and Marlene Feist with regarding the landfill area, so my only comments are, I'm so grateful that you've had open talk about the landfill eventually maybe being a possibility. There are some mature pine trees along Mount Vernon Road south of the Peppersack and the Mullen Road area that is the edge of the landfill. Those are existing trees, even if that was a small dog park area as an option. And then I appreciate Mr. Anderson, your appeal for tentative motions, and I'm not familiar with all this council stuff, but I would love it if there was a tentative motion to look further. I've emailed Marlene Feist with regarding the landfill. There is a dog park in Thurston County and near Olympia, and they did repurpose a landfill area. It was a burn area, and ours is a little different, but I've talked with Martin Quinn with the Department of Ecology, and he feels, you know, our landfill on the South Hill's ready for something like this. We can't have structures built, but you can have above ground shade area built, scattered. That is a flat area. It's neighborhood friendly. People are already used to it. It would be a blessing for the school district taxpayers that voted in favor of an expanded dog park like we were promised when we passed the bond for the new school. The kids could see it from their junior high and grade school. My kids went to Mullen Road long ago. Sorry, I'm nervous. My voice is shaky from nerves,
fine.
and I've probably done with my 3 minutes. I'd love to volunteer to be a community person on a task force
Oh,
that
good.
is looking into this further, because if challenges can be met and we can repurpose the South Hill Dog Park, or South Hill landfill area, a portion of it, and in the future, maybe more. I looked last summer, there were some grants available. I didn't get an application in soon enough, but nationwide, there have been grants approved for things of this nature. I know there's some funding with the schools and things, and sorry, I'm out of time, but thank you.
Thank you,
you so
Jill.
much.
You're right
Thank
on
you.
time.
We certainly
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
Nick, can I ask a couple questions? I know with landfills, there are concerns when there are membranes over them, that there's seepage, that glass can work up, that there's methane, that there are health concerns for the dogs and the humans using them. What is the extent or the timeline for that landfill being made usable?
I am not a landfill expert, so I cannot give you that answer. I think Greg may be able to give you a slightly better answer. Greg with Spokane Public Schools is here. I welcome you to try if you'd like, Greg. But what I have heard, and what we rely on in these situations, is our Public Works Director and our landfill folks. And so we reached out early on to say, can we use this site? We prefer to use this site to construct on. And what we heard back were, a litany of reasons why that's not an option for us. I can provide that documentation to this group, but I don't want to misquote any of that. And so I fear that if I were to say, Nick says we can do this or we can't, that I would get it wrong. What we have to rely on are our engineers that know this stuff.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is I can produce to you those documents and I can do that in a timely manner, but I don't have that information for you right now. Other than when we make the ask and say, hey, we'd really love to be here, they say, no, you can't be here right now. And so they haven't given me a date of when that would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second and last question is, is there a time limit now on deciding on a site to take advantage of Spokane Public Schools' generous funding?
Well, our initial timeline was October of last year.
Right.
What we do know is that we would like to select a site and pursue completion of that as soon as we can. Spokane Public Schools has been really generous in what they've offered, which was we will keep a temporary site open until we get a permanent one constructed. And so as a result, they've actually delayed now the installation of their playfields a year. So they're going to open their school without playfields, or at least without the new fields, this fall. And that's specifically to accommodate this dog park. So they're going to honor that commitment. And I think in our turn here, our commitment should be to be able to select and build a site as expeditiously as we can. As staff, we really believe that's going to be Highbridge because we don't see a whole lot of other options.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that the landfill option wasn't coming up quickly as an option, that maybe
No,
it's
and
further
that's-
down the road a little bit later.
Yeah, that's something we can continue to have dialogue
Yeah,
with our Public
okay.
Works Director is, but we're told it's continuing to do what landfills do, whatever that is,
Yeah.
and we can't touch it quite yet.
Okay. All right.
I know the original dog park committee, and I forget how long ago it was that we met, but anyway, we were looking at various landfills. In fact, I believe there was one on the north side, as a potential one off near the Indian Trail was one, and that was being looked at on a landfill. It would make sense to have a group, a committee with energetic people like Jill, to maybe look into study this. How could we build on former landfills?
Yeah.
I think that would be a real plus, and it could open up new territories maybe for a future date when and if additional funding is available, maybe the South Hill or the North Side or whatever. Always looking to the future on those. But I don't think it would fit, again, the needs right now of what the school district needs and that school.
Yeah.
We need to look at the students going to the school and their playgrounds and so on that get delayed.
There's no doubt we see need for a number of these dog parks over the term of what I hope to be my career, to build several of them. And so what we're looking at today certainly wouldn't preclude us from looking at landfills and other sites as we move forward.
Thoughts on on voting today, or putting,
I'm willing to vote.
I am as well.
I'm willing to vote.
okay? Do we wish to add a condition to it that we get support from the neighborhood, or just move ahead with the risk that they tell us no tomorrow?
Oh, I think it could be worded into the motion.
Okay.
Do you want me to give that a stab?
Sure.
Okay.
You're always good with words.
Oh, well. I move that the Park Board select Highbridge Park as the location for the investment in the community dog park from the Spokane Public Schools generous donation, with a caveat that it meets with public approval.
Second.
Do we also need to include on that we're abandoning Upriver Drive as the original?
That's in the resolution, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's already in there.
Okay. Okay, friendly amendment, and that we not pursue Upriver Drive as a site.
Second, yeah.
All right. You second that?
Yep.
All right, any other questions, comments? Anyone online? Christina, Nick? If not, we will put it to the vote. Everyone understands the vote? Okay, Greta?
I guess,
Please.
just to be particular, the existing Highbridge Park dog, improvements to the existing Highbridge Park
Yes.
dog park, instead of, Highbridge Park is kind of big. So.
I second
Yes.
that. friendly
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, because that's a financial kind of thing as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always easier when the motions are written out. All right,
We're doing fine on the fly.
so we will go ahead. If no further comments, we will put that to a vote. So all those in favor of moving basically from Upriver Drive to the Highbridge Dog Park and looking for hopefully further affirmation from the neighborhood. So all those in favor of that, if we respond with aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, Nick, you have a new job to do.
Thank you.
I would just like to
Thank
take,
you all.
a quick minute and thank William from West Hills. We really appreciate you being here. And you just offered some really positive things that I've already seen and heard, especially with the animals, and things that, I don't know. I just think it's a beautiful area down there, but it's been neglected. And the old saying, build it and they will come.
And to the original members of the South Hill Dog Park, we're continuing to try. So thank you very much for all your support through this.
Yes.
Why don't we move to the second resolution? That would be supporting the implementation of the Avista Corporation Metro to Sunset. Again, I don't need to read through it all word for word. That would be Melanie Rose and Nick Hammond. So Nick, you're up again.
I think my role here is just to introduce people and get out of the way. We have
That's always a good role to
Melanie
have.
Rose, Aaron Tremaine, and Todd McLaughlin here with Avista. So they're going to give you a brief update on what is a pretty exciting utility project, if those exist. And
Exciting?
I'll jump in at the end.
Very exciting. How do we forward this?
Forward and back on the keyboard.
Oh, on the keyboard. Okay. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Thank
Hi
you
there.
for allowing us to be here. It's exciting to be here at the Park Board. I'm Melanie Rose. I'm Regional Business Manager, and I'm here with Aaron and Todd. We have been planning for this transmission rebuild project for several years. It's going to go between the Metro substation and Sunset substation, which is why it has that name. Metro is downtown Spokane, and Sunset is kind of below 29th, down tucked at the bottom of the bluff. So you guys are probably familiar with that. So today we're going to provide you with a project overview, describe our outreach efforts and results, which did include a couple of visits to the Land Committee since last fall. Share the innovative construction approach we're taking, and talk about our site restoration plans and share next steps. So, Aaron.
So as Melanie mentioned, the project, as Melanie mentioned, the project starts just south of I-90. So the Metro Sunset is downtown, but the project that we're just constructing the project south of I-90, kind of along the bluff, just paralleling the railroad. And it terminates, like she said, kind of down there at the Sunset substation. So there's kind of the vicinity map, if you had a chance to take a look at that. So the project isn't real long as far as a transmission project is concerned. We're only replacing around 13 structures, so they're wood pole structures. we're replacing them with steel structures. On the transmission side, all structures that are wood get replaced with steel. We do that for, to prepare for any fire that takes place. We feel like the steel poles last longer than the wood poles typically have. And then the reason for the project is just, expanding electrical capacity and really upgrading aging infrastructure. And so that's really the reason for the project. We're proposing to perform the construction the 5th of September through October 20th, so it's not a real long time frame. But it's during that fall season where people may be out wanting to enjoy the trail. Is this you?
Okay, so project outreach, and this actually is a picture of one of what the new poles are going to look like. So we're going to be replacing those 2 or 3 old wood poles with a single steel pole. This is one that got replaced last summer after the fire on the edge of the bluff down kind of Cliff Cannon neighborhood. So that's a picture of that one. So we were asked to do outreach for this project, and so our objectives for that were to provide a project overview to stakeholders and then also discuss and collect input in 4 different areas: construction plans, restoration options, access to recreational areas during construction, and just general overall feedback. So we developed a plan, we created a project webpage and email, which is still there now, and we're going to continue to update on this project as we go forward. We launched the comment period January 1st. It was originally going to go through February 17th, but we realized we missed some people who really wanted to comment, so we extended it for another month. Sent out a couple of postcards to like 7,800 people, just to make sure that we covered our bases.
Sounds like the park board.
So we did get some great feedback, not only from the email comments, but also from the 5 community meetings that we attended. As I said, we've been doing project updates via email and posting on the webpage. We did actually do an additional outreach effort. We joined the Friends of the Bluff at their Brush on the Bluff event in May. We had a table there, and it was really awesome, actually, because that's really part of the area where the construction is going to happen. And a lot of people stopped by to ask questions and find out more. So it was really hot, really hot that day, but it was really awesome to be there. So kind of just, I'm not going to go through all of this, but we did overall get a lot of ideas back from people. Generally, the construction plans, as we originally proposed them, there was a lot of concern about the impacts to the natural beauty of the bluff. And we were originally talking about putting in roads and access pads and all kinds of stuff, and people didn't really like that very well, and they wanted to make sure that we restored completely or as much as we could once we were done with construction. Concerns about slopes, erosion, noxious weeds. There was a lot of conversation about noxious weeds. Tree replacement, people concerned about that, and of course we are going to be replacing the trees we do take out. There's not very many of them, so we'll work with parks on that. Access to the recreational area, so this is something that's coming, right? So once we start this project, we'll be working on trail signage and communication as best we can. Another couple other concerns: access by motorized vehicles to the area of the bluff that we'll need to open up to get in there to replace these poles. So there was conversation about that. And then construction during fire season. So those were kind of the overall general sentiments that we heard. Aaron's going to talk about the cool stuff, though.
Like Melanie said, so the original approach was to, anytime we do one of our projects, we have what we call historical access. We try to open up that old access and use it so that we can maintain our infrastructure years down the road. For this, so that was kind of our original approach, and that's how we went out to outreach with. And like Melanie said, there was a little bit of pushback regarding that, just the amount of earthwork and excavation and grading that would have to take place to do that. So we toned that back. We took the feedback, we toned that back, and we went out to bid with a hybrid approach, which was we called it the softest, lightest touch possible, which was to use tracked equipment. And so we wouldn't need rubber-tired vehicles in there, which would mean that we wouldn't necessarily have to cut a road into each of the sites. So that was that was kind of our approach originally, and then we were going to use some helicopters to set some of the structures as well. The reason why we chose not to use helicopters for the entire site was because of the close proximity to some of the residential houses and near the line. So we went out to bid, and Patelco gave us a proposal that came up with using what they call Kaiser spider machines. And I think we have it's actually pretty cool because I actually haven't seen them in the industry, and really no one at our group had, but it's kind of a cutting edge, kind of innovative type of machinery, not a conventional type of equipment. Wow. And so we're pretty excited about being able to present this to you all, to the parks folks, and really cut back and minimize the amount of disturbance that's going to take place for this project. And so we're really looking forward to that. As you can see, the equipment can traverse, difficult terrain, and so we feel like, the amount of disturbance will be minimal. Now, these machines, I think they're proposing to use 2 of them, are going to be in and out of there, hundreds of times. So there will be some disturbance that takes place, just because depending on weather, any sort of weather event, or just any sort of track in and out, there's going, it could potentially look like a little bit of a road in and out, but definitely much less disturbance than obviously our first proposed plan, which would have been to cut in roads and pads. And we would have had that same issue with tracked equipment as well, in and out lots of times as well. So, are you doing this or no? Okay. So really we don't really know, based on not using this equipment, what restoration is going to be required at this particular point in time. We are going to obviously seed everything, fertilize. We're not going to just go sprinkle some seed out there. We're going to take a look at it and analyze how much disturbance has taken place, and then come up with a game plan after that to ensure that we get things restored properly. And in fact, I think we have an MOU. We have an MOU with Spokane Parks that kind of addresses all that. And I believe is that done in place? That's what we're talking about. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, the language the verbiage is there, so, yeah, and that's, she touched on the tree removal, where the trees are removed, we'll get them replaced in other locations, and I guess, like Nick said, that's what we're talking about today.
So this is our last slide. So we do have a contract that got signed with Patelco, I think, last week. We've been coordinating with City Parks all through this project, and we'll continue to do that. And that includes honoring the resolution that's before you today. Ongoing communication with stakeholders. We'll probably expand that during construction. We're kind of ramping up now for the next phase of our outreach and communication. We do have a Friends of the Bluff open house on August 9th. They wanted us to go to the Cliff Cannon neighborhood because that was not a neighborhood council that we were able to present to back when we first started all this. So we're going to have an open house at the Women's Center. I think it's called the Women's Center Women's Club. On August 9th from 4:30 to 6. So we're just going to be there talking with people who have questions about the project. I think Jeff told me that Comstock Neighborhood Council is going to co-sponsor, co-host that meeting. So we're looking forward to that opportunity to talk with people about the project and gather feedback and ideas about how to communicate with everybody, especially the trail users, once the project gets started. As Aaron said, construction September 5th through October 20th, and then we'll begin restoration right away after that. So that is our presentation. Do you have, oh, sorry. You snuck it in there. Okay. Any questions before Sneaky Nick comes back up here?
Yeah, Melanie, from the totally uninformed person's viewpoint, which I'm in that camp, from the Vista standpoint, is this to extend and improve service? Or are we basically just replacing
We're-
deteriorating equipment? And
It's kind of a combination.
Okay.
We're replacing those poles that are about 50 years old now, so we do need to replace them, and again, with steel poles, because we want to be resistant to wildfire in that area. But we're also expanding capacity and expanding communication lines between the substations.
Okay.
So we're building it to respond to growth. So it's going to expand our capacity as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions?
I just have a comment on
Okay.
just
Please.
another great example of our partnership with Avista. So I want to thank Melanie and the team for the ongoing effort to have the least amount of impact but still come up with the solutions. And I would ask if there's an opportunity to test drive one of those before, on flat surface maybe, but those look pretty nifty, so.
Yeah, be
I
sure
just
to
want to
take
play
pictures.
Avatar.
Yeah.
I'd like to be CC'd on that email.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So just to jump back in here, one thing we would typically bring whenever we have somebody building something on parkland would be some sort of a development agreement, MOU, something with a little bit more teeth than just a resolution, right? And you see a resolution before you today, and the reason for that is, one, Avista already has the easements that they need to be able to do this work. They didn't need to come to us. They could have gone out there and done it. We have a great partnership, and so they're here and they've listened to the community. And we're really bringing the resolution in response to that. As staff, one of the things we see is kind of exemplary public engagement and opportunity to do what a utility doesn't have to do. And so we wanted to acknowledge that, and then we wrote that in that resolution, basically to say, hey, the park board is on board with this idea. We're not really excited about power poles, but we're on board with this approach. And so we did work language in there that says the park board would authorize Avista and its agents to implement the Metro to Sunset transmission rebuild project on parkland so long as they restore the parkland disturbed by the construction activity to the as close as practicable to the pre-construction condition. So they don't need that permission from us, but we'd like to express that permission just to be in good faith there. So that's the intention of the resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do we feel comfortable go ahead and putting that for a resolution?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And thank you for staying an hour and 10 minutes.
So I will move that we adopt a resolution supporting the implementation of the Avista Corporation Metro to Sunset Transmission Rebuild Project across High Drive Park. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Bingle, second. Any questions, comments before we put it to the vote?
No, just, I think we have,
I didn't sign up. Can I make a comment? All right. It'll be brief.
quick. Yeah.
Oh, in that case.
You have,
Case you can have 30 minutes.
You friends of the bluff people are that way.
My name's Jeff Lambert.
and you
I'm-
have 3 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. My name's Jeff Lambert. I'm the president of the Friends of the Bluff.
Right.
So we're in support of the project that Avista's brought forth. And I just want to say that this open house is because, of course, people missed the comment period or they didn't feel like they got the response that they wanted. So this is an attempt to communicate what is going on. And I just recently I heard, I believe it was Avista, maybe it was Parks, sprayed for Scotch broom. So I got phone calls on that.
Oh, dear.
And my response is, we need folks to go out and help us pull weeds because well, no, I mean, seriously, broadcast spraying is necessary for these large areas, but the community is responding well to volunteer as they've done for over a decade in the Bluff area to go out and do that pulling. So we want to coordinate with Parks and Avista, and we'll help with that restoration work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff. And as always, the support of the Friends of the Bluff is very important to
Yes.
us. Thank you.
Oh, and you beat 3 minutes. Oh, perfect.
All right, let's go ahead and we'll put that up to the vote. All those in favor respond with aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That also passes. And again, thank you for coming and
you.
consulting with us. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
So we have one more resolution left.
Jason and Mary.
That would be on park rules.
Jason Conley, apparently Nick wants a break, so I'll pinch hit.
Well, thank you.
For park rules. With me today, I have City Attorneys James Richmond, who represents Parks, Mary Maramatsu, who does a lot with the police department. Of course, we have Councilmember Bingle, who was very active in this with City Council, and Council Policy Advisor Chris Wright is in the audience as well. So I think we can answer all your questions today as we work through this item. I'll do a little bit of history of how we got to today, and then I'll let others kind of fill in the gaps. If you remember a summer ago, there were several significant events that happened in our parks. It started kind of midsummer, tailed into late summer, even into the fall. There were several shootings and real violent acts, and the police department approached us as the park board and said, hey, would you please request to change the park rules and enhance the penalty from an infraction when the park is closed up to a misdemeanor. And for a long period of time in Spokane's history, it was a misdemeanor, and it was changed probably around 2018. So through some contemplation and deliberation, in October of last year, October of 2022, you as a park board passed a resolution, and you sent that request asking City Council to take action and to change the Spokane Municipal Code. Recently as June 26th, this item made it to Council, and through some, discussions on the dais, they came back with something not quite to what the board you were asking for, and with that, they agreed to increase the penalty to a misdemeanor, but not for the entire hours that the park is closed. And they've asked you as a park board to consider changing the park hours. We had a very healthy discussion 2 days ago at the Finance Committee, which was one of the only committees that met in the month of July. And at the request of, and thank you, Bob, and at the request of the committee, I'm here today with a resolution for you to consider. That would be a formal reply to City Council saying that you are not interested as a park board in modifying the park hours. So that's what's here before you today. I will certainly allow Mary or James to fill in any of the blanks. I've gone very, very high level on a lot of topics here, so I'll pass the baton, so to speak, and let them fill in with more of the details, which I think you do need to hear. The members that were at Finance Committee on Tuesday got to hear some of this information. I think it's pretty pertinent details to help you make your final decision.
Members of the Park Board, and thank you for letting us take a few moments of your time. I think one thing that I would add to what Jason has already stated is that Council has already taken the action to change the park hours. What they have done is they've modified the penalty, but they've also modified the hours. So whereas park hours closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., now it's 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., and Riverfront Park, midnight to 5 a.m. So because of that, this presents an interesting dilemma in the fact, and I think James has probably a better foundation, but there is right now a legal impasse, if you will, because really only the park board can change the hours. That's a rule that only the park board can set. You have set that rule, and as we understand it, City Council, or excuse me, Park Board, park staff rather, have indicated that that may not be a good thing for a lot of reasons. There is the concern about the noise ordinance, about the fact that 10 p.m. is a marker when neighborhoods expect for there to be quiet. There's also a cost issue and potentially a fiscal note to this if you have to have staff from the Parks Department out at certain hours that are currently not, at issue because the parks are closed. So with that, if you have any questions, I think we can answer that. But James has also briefed the issue with regard to your authority as being the sole authority with regard to park hours. So.
Questions? Councilor Bingle?
I can add some more commentary on that too. We were kind of confused as to whether or not the city council could take this action. We had heard both yes and no. The night of the action, we had heard yes, you can do this, and so that's when that amendment came up, because there was support for changing it from 11 to 5, specifically because we didn't want the misdemeanor to be from 10 to 6. I remember being a young kid, and we would be at the parks during the summer hours well into the 10, 11 area. And so we weren't wanting to make it a misdemeanor at 10. 11 seemed what was going to be more effective, because based on what the police had told us. They told us, the activity was usually between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. So that's what we were trying to accommodate, was the police recommendation to us in that. And so that's why the 11 to 5 ended up happening. It wasn't originally going to happen. That amendment was made that night because we were told in the moment, yes, you can do this. And so that's where we went back and forth. Shout out to Chris Wright, who the entire time told us, you guys can't do that. I don't know why you're trying to do that. And he may have had some experience here before. But so anyway, we overrode his recommendation and did it anyway. But that's sort of how the 11 to 5 came about. It was discussed for a long time, and sort of on council, we always try to get to a 7-0 vote. We want it to be the entire council. That was one of the negotiating factors, where if you guys do it at this time as opposed to 10 to 6, then we might be able to support this. And so that was us trying to accommodate our fellow council members as well. So.
Other comments, questions? Jennifer, Greta, I know you both had excellent thoughts at the Finance Committee, so.
Well, I have a question. This resolution basically just says we don't want to change the park hours, correct? It doesn't say anything about the misdemeanor, correct? So that's an issue that may need to be resolved, will need to be resolved later then. Okay, great, thanks.
Sorry, I guess I have a question. If park hours don't change, they stay 10 to 6, can it still be a misdemeanor from 11 to 5? I don't know if we ever got a actual answer on that either.
Yeah, Councilmember Bingle, that's a great question. And I'll be honest with you, initially I was grasping to figure out what would be the solution that would make everybody happy. And so recognizing that indeed Captain Hendren was talking about 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. as being those most critical hours for purposes of, the gangs, the shootings and such, and recognizing that really the council wasn't comfortable for a lot of good reasons, with making the misdemeanor applicable to those initial hours, the 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and such. So initially, that was my thinking exactly, that, well, gosh, maybe it can be a civil infraction for 1 hour, then become a misdemeanor for those hours, and then become a civil infraction. And it seemed like a good idea for a few minutes. And then I chatted with a couple of city prosecutors who said, well, consider how many tickets we'll be amending. But after giving it even more thought than that, I heard a comment from the police department that really, really resonated with me, and it really got me to thinking. So I think when we look at a penalty for a particular violation, it's best that we keep it simple. It's best that there be one penalty for one violation. So one thing that was communicated to me, and I happen to know, I've worked with the police department, kind of counseling them and advising them for 10 to 12 years now. And when they are enforcing laws, there are so many of them. Misdemeanors, infractions, felonies, but the list is huge. Their cheat sheet of the types of laws that they enforce, it's pages and pages and pages, everything from speeding tickets to murder. And, when they are enforcing, they do the best they can to know what they're enforcing. They have sector, so the e-ticketing system will auto-populate, what those penalties are. But sometimes they're not with their laptops. Sometimes they're just out there with a paper ticket book. And it's important that when they respond, even when they don't know that they're going to take any enforcement action at all, when they respond to something, it's really important that they know if this is infraction level material or if it's crime level material. Why? Because it matters in terms of what they're able to do. And in fact, that's the whole genesis of this ordinance, the asking for the increased penalty, was if it becomes a simple misdemeanor, now they have Terry stop authority, and it's an entirely different level of enforcement. You know, with a speeding ticket, they have the benefit of state law where they can require somebody to give a name, they can require compliance, but with civil infractions that are not traffic related, none of that is there. They can issue a civil infraction and detain somebody for just so long as that person will cooperate, accept the ticket, identify themselves and such. There's a state law on that, RCW 7.80. And so when we talk about those that won't, their authority is pretty much done. But when they know that they're rushing to something, they're dispatched to a problem in the parks, they need to know right away without thinking, okay, what time is it? Do they have that authority to approach? What if they get into a use of force? What if somebody pulls a knife on them? It matters if it's a civil infraction versus a crime. We don't want an officer in a use of force situation with a civil infraction, unless, I mean, obviously the state law gives us that guidance that where there's a necessity to protect against an imminent threat of bodily injury. I mean, that alone will kick in an officer's authority. But absent that, we need to be really careful. So I guess my recommendation is keep it simple. I think they would ask you, keep it simple. If it's a park violation, it is or it isn't a misdemeanor. I don't know that they want the misdemeanor, obviously, but I think they want clarity above all, if that helps.
And at least from my thought, the council could also look to keep it simple and maintain the current park hours. Some of the reasoning that I heard was we don't want to arrest a jogger that happens to be in the park at 5 in the morning. I doubt seriously, and we also heard the comment that the police have to be dispatched to the park before they even go. It's not like they're regularly patrolling the park looking for people that are jogging. I don't know who would dispatch someone to say, I saw a jogger, could you please come and arrest him? I mean, I don't see that happening. I'm not trying to be facetious, but I just don't see that happening, and I don't see our police acting in that fashion. So why, I don't see the need to change the hours. It just doesn't make sense to me. And again, it would be a very large expense to parks to change all the signs. I don't know how many exist. Jason McGarrett, you might have a much better idea than I do. And then we would also have, if it changed with the park hours, we would have a very lengthy period where our signs were stating different hours than what this resolution stated, you know, what the law says, because they can't be changed overnight. Again, I have no idea how long it would take because we haven't looked into it. But anyway, my thought, I guess, is just a member of the board is, I certainly don't think we should be changing our hours.
Yeah.
And I think it could be enforced as written with our current hours. But anyone else, please comment.
So a couple of things. Number one, we had this discussion on the park board, being worried about joggers and people walking their dogs at 5 a.m. A lot of people exercise that early. My hat's off to them. But the police know the difference. We have a reasonable trust and expectation that they can tell the difference. They've got the street smarts, after all. So they're not going to pull somebody aside who's jogging or walking their dog. They're just not going to. And we can trust that that's not going to happen. We have 105 parks. If we have 10 signs per park, that's 1,050 signs. That's going to take an awful long time. That's budget we don't have. And the other thing is the noise ordinance. We want our neighborhood parks that are surrounded by residences not to be sources of noise at 11 p.m. when physicians are trying to get sleep because they're on call the next day, when kids have finished a late paper and they need homework, sleep because they've got a test the next day. We want our parks to be sources of peace and quiet at the appropriate hours. So, and then the final bit is, and this is something I got from another park board president who's in the audience, who said, you know what, city charter preempts SMCs. It just does. So there we are.
Yeah, I totally understand all of that. I don't have any problems with that. I agree the police, I think, are going to be able to do it. I have colleagues who do not have as much faith in the police to make that decision. And so my job as the council liaison is to deliver the entire message. And so want to bring that forward that, even though it might say, yeah, it's okay, they're just a jog or whatever, somebody might argue that's disparate treatment because, well, the law doesn't say unless you're jogging, go ahead and do this. It says, you know, after park hours. And so I totally, and for the record, I personally agree with where we're at on this, but I have colleagues who would disagree, so.
And I would say that we do appreciate our partnership with
Certainly.
City Council.
Yes.
Any other comments or? And James, I certainly appreciate your
Homework.
email correspondence regarding, again, and then the research of the historical information regarding parks and their ability to.
Yes, of course. Happy to help.
So the resolution would be, my understanding in front of us would be to vote, we don't want to change hours, basically. And then it would be, I guess then the decision would be on the council whether they wanted to agree with that or they don't want to enforce the new higher transgressions or whatever. I guess that would be, they could also decide not to do that.
But we would encourage them to make the times harmonious.
Yes.
Keep it simple
Mhm.
for the people who are having to enforce the law and also to follow it.
And follow along with the noise ordinance and so on.
Excuse me, but that's not part of the resolution.
No.
Encouraging them to do something is not part of the
I
resolution.
can
Because
take
I
that back.
personally
Yes.
think that they should say, unless you're jogging.
Totally.
And if it's a
Totally.
misdemeanor unless you're jogging, or walking your dog,
Yeah.
or something like that.
And it gets really difficult because then somebody who's committing a crime would say, well, I'm jogging. Or they would take a dog with them and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
oh, I'm just walking my dog. You know,
Right.
so I totally get all of it. And on this resolution, I want it to be understood, I do not agree with the way that I'm going to be voting today, but we as a council, we did pass an ordinance, so I'll be voting as my body did, so.
Yeah, my only question too is, I don't want to lock us. I mean, what's the wording? In other words, we could be at a place in time in 5 years from now where,
Well, the park board always has the authority to set regulations for parks per
Right.
city charter, no matter what else happens.
okay,
So
so we're not tied, is what I'm saying. Okay.
It seems like the intent of what we would want, we're not looking to give misdemeanors to people who are just using the park for simple, even if it is after hours, you know, we could ask them to leave, but we're not looking to give them a misdemeanor. We're looking to give a misdemeanor to someone that is observed committing an actual crime, hoping to prevent that crime from escalating. It seems like that would be the purpose, and I know it was of what we discussed earlier. You know, at least in my opinion, it's not a serious offense to be jogging in the park after hours or taking your baby on a stroller if you want to do that at 5 in the morning. That's not something that I mean, it's wise not to do it, but it's not something we're looking to prevent. And I really don't know how many people do it. I'm not in the parks at that time of day either, so.
well, and let's remember that the police came to us asking for this misdemeanor level
Right.
of ruling because our parks were becoming unsafe, and nobody will use our parks if they're unsafe. So we need to keep our parks safe.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, 48 shootings last year in the.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
That is unacceptable. It was a massive increase from the year before where we had 48 last year. So it's definitely a serious problem. And I'm thankful City Council passed the misdemeanor.
Yes.
And I will
Right,
absolutely
convey that to them.
take back to them that Park Board is not on board with the 11 to 5, keep it 10 to 6. There's a lot of good reasons for it. And if we change our minds, then my vote could be different in the future. So,
Thank you.
yep.
All right, any other comments? Nick, Christina, any comments on it before we vote on it? So the
I just want to make sure we're clear on what we're voting on.
the resolution.
There's been a lot of,
Go ahead.
okay. No, I just, you were kind of throwing out, like, we don't want joggers, and we got to make sure it's black and white so that there's nobody can say, well, you know, you're not doing this, but you're doing this, and I just want to make sure it's very cut and dry what we're voting on.
Our resolution, as I understand it, is not to change the park hours. It is the city councils, which within their jurisdiction to say what is going to be a misdemeanor, who they would give tickets to. That is not anything that we have control over.
Bob, I am certainly
Right, so
happy.
it's just about park hours, right?
Yes.
I'm certainly happy to read the entire resolution.
Please.
I'm no Terry Pfister, so where she can bang through it
She's impressive.
in
She is.
seconds. It's 3 pages, so you're going to have to bear with me, but I'm more than happy to read the resolution if everyone has not had a chance to review it. And then the briefing paper that I wrote actually gives you the motion wording that would summarize this, and I can bring it up to you if you need it.
Please do.
This resolution is a resolution of the Spokane Park Board regarding the City Council's request to update the park hours of operation pursuant to Ordinance C 36394. Whereas pursuant to the City of Spokane Charter, Section 48, the Park Board shall have the power to make rules and regulations for the use of parks and provide for the enforcement of such rules and regulations. And whereas based on the city charters and relevant Washington case law, for the City of Spokane, Park Board has the sole authority to establish park rules and regulations and provide for the enforcement of such rules and regulations. And whereas pursuant to park rules established by the Spokane Park Board and codified in SMC 1206A 040J.4, most city parks are currently closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and Riverfront Park is closed from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. And whereas on Monday, June 26, 2023, the Spokane City Council considered Ordinance C 36394, a revision to SMC 1206A 040J4 that would increase the penalty for being in a city park after the hours of closure from a civil infraction to a misdemeanor. And whereas the amendment to Ordinance C 36394 was offered, which proposed to change the hours when parks are closed so that the closure would be from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. and midnight to 5 a.m. in Riverfront Park. And whereas the City Council discussion of amendment included recognition of the Park Board's sole authority to establish park rules, as well as acknowledgement of the procedural requirement to bring park rule changes before the Park Board for approval. And whereas council members acknowledged that their action to adopt the amendment would take things out of order procedurally, and therefore added a final whereas to the prefatory recitals of Ordinance 36394, formally seeking the Park Board's agreement to this rule change, whereas the City Council requests the Spokane Park Board update the park hours to reflect the hours listed in this ordinance, and whereas the council thereafter unanimously adopted the amendment and proceeded to a vote on the substantive ordinance, which narrowly passed by a vote of 4-3, see Ordinance C 36394 Exhibit A, which was attached. And whereas the City Council has an important governmental interest in closing public parks at night and in setting a nighttime deadline when all activities must cease and members of the community must leave, and which recognizes the responsibility of local government to promote the safety and protection of public during times when parks are not patrolled, to ensure that the community members in the surrounding neighborhoods are able to avail themselves of quiet enjoyment at times when most people go to sleep. And whereas after much community input, the Spokane Parks Department previously adopted a 10 p.m. closure time for most city parks and midnight closure time at Riverfront Park, and that these times were established to help facilitate the efficient management of city parks and to align with neighborhood concerns about activities that often affect quiet enjoyment during late night hours and enforcement of Spokane's noise ordinance. And whereas the community has benefited from the alignment of the current park hours in operation and the city's noise ordinance, which was intended to mitigate public disturbances caused by sound generated after 10 p.m. and which arise out of late-night park activity, adversely affecting residential neighborhoods where after-hour noise interrupts sleep and peace, and where the Spokane City Council now asks the Spokane Park Board to consider a change in the hours of closure in order to address violent crime, including documented shootings which have been occurring in the parks overnight, with the enhanced penalty of a misdemeanor, but only during more limited hours. And whereas the changing hours of closure would require the park department to incur significant costs, including thousands of dollars in expenses not currently in the park's budget. These include the replacement of over 1,000 signs in parks throughout the city, which could yield a cost of tens of thousands of dollars. And whereas the change in park hours of operation will also require the park department to incur costs associated with staff time to re-educate the public about the change, as well as the costs associated with payroll for the increased workload of park rangers to patrol the extra park hours and park maintenance staff to address trash and vandalism in city parks. And whereas the park board must prioritize its budgeted projects and first consider the fiscal needs of park operations, understanding that the park department is already short on funds to accomplish all that it needs and lacks adequate funding to accommodate this unsolicited change. And whereas Section 48 of the Spokane City Charter gives the park board sole authority to make rules and regulations for the use of parks and to provide for the enforcement of such rules and regulations, thereby preempting city council action on matters related to the park hours of operation. And whereas SMC 0411.010 reaffirms this authority held exclusively by the park board consistent with the charter and ordinance of Spokane to adopt, promulgate, and enforce rules and regulations respecting the management, control, and use of the parks. And whereas the park board appreciates the partnership with city council and its mutual interest in public safety through stewardship required of each entity in their respective roles, and hopes that the city council will respect and accept that the park board has a responsibility to maintain the current park hours of operations for the reasons previously stated. Now therefore, it be resolved that the Spokane Park Board respectfully declines City Council's request to change the park hours of operation in city parks. Be it therefore resolved that the Spokane Park Board respectfully asks the City Council to amend SMC 1206A.040J.4 to restore the park hours lawfully established by the park board pursuant to its charter authority. Whew.
Nice work, Jason.
Terry Pfister has no risk of losing her night job at City Council.
So, thank you, Jason. But
Yes.
that was the motion. At the end, we will.
For you, right here is where here's your motion.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. I can read a lot better than I can ad lib. So I believe we're to the point of, again, voting on this motion.
Just one last quick comment, if I could, Bob. I believe that, so that ordinance passed 4-3. One of the 3 no votes is in 6 hours no longer a member of the city council. But the 4 who were there that voted for it, I think would be very open to what the park board has to say. So just FYI.
Thank you,
Oh, thank you.
Councilman. So the motion to move to approve a resolution asking the city council to amend SMC 1206A.040J4 to restore the park hours lawfully established by the park board pursuant to its charter authority. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that, Bob.
Thank you, Hannah, second. Any other comments on it before we go to the vote? All those in
Hey,
favor?
Bob, I
Oh,
just
go
have
ahead,
a question.
please.
So was the intention of the 11 to 5 to be for all parks except for Riverfront because the resolution says most parks are 10 to 6? Or was it to be the intent that the parks that are 10 to 6 now become 11 to 5?
That's my understanding. Jason, Garrett, do you have a better?
Okay.
Yeah, currently park rules are 10 to 6 with the exception of Riverfront Park, and it doesn't matter if it's a developed park or it's park-owned property out in nature. The council action changed that where the penalty will be enforced from 11 to 5, with the exception of Riverfront, which is 12 to 5.
So all parks are 10 to 6 except for Riverfront?
That is correct.
Yes.
So should the wording not be most?
Should it be all?
Should not say all parks except for Riverfront?
The wording of our motion, I don't even see where it states most or all.
It says most parks.
It says to restore the park hours lawfully established by the park board.
No, I understand
Oh,
that,
I'm
but
sorry.
earlier on in the resolution, like the first page, it says most parks are 10 to 6. And I'm just saying, should that not state all parks are 10 to 6 except for Riverfront if that's the case?
I think that's, according to Mary, that's just background information, and it will not be a tripwire moving forward.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you. So all those, any other comments or questions? All those in favor of this motion, please respond with aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. All right, that does pass, and so that resolution will be sent forward. Thank you, Councilman Bingle, for all your support. And Mary and James, thank you for
Oh,
your
yes.
clarification.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
You certainly helped us a great deal. Thank you. All right, so we will move then to, we'll get going with committee reports. And since we didn't have a lot of committees meeting, they'll probably be minimal. Jerry, go ahead and start out with golf.
I will defer that to Nick Sumner.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. You're right. Nick?
It's okay, it's been a long day.
Sorry, Nick. Yeah, it has been a long day.
That's okay. Golf did not meet, and our next meeting is on August 8th, 2023 at 8 a.m. in the Hives room and virtually online.
Thank you, Nick. Greta with land.
Land Committee did not meet in July, and our next meeting is August 2nd at 3:30 p.m. at the Liberty Park Library and virtually via WebEx.
Recreation Committee, Sally is not here, but they also did not meet, and their next meeting will be August 2nd at Liberty Park Library at 5:15. Now, Jerry, you can go with Riverfront Park.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Riverfront Park did not meet. So our next meeting will be August 7th at the beautiful pavilion at 4 p.m.
Finance Committee did meet as the last one before the board meeting, so we did meet, and we do have 2 action items. 4 of our 5 action items were approved and sent to consent. We do have another one, and then we felt the board should at least be briefed on the calendar and budget priorities. So, Rich, take it away again, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, I thought everyone was here to talk about Zamboni financing, but looks like maybe not. So you're stuck with it.
We're here.
Yeah, that's right.
Did a bunch of people sign up?
This will be super quick. You approved in May, I believe, a proposal from John to purchase the Zamboni ice resurfacing machine for Ice Ribbon.
Yeah.
Part of that write-up included the financing. I do have a briefing paper. I don't know if it's real beneficial to pull it up or not. But part of that was a 7-year financing through NCL Government Capital for private financing. And we got the loan agreement, and there were some terms in there that were not necessarily beneficial to the city or taxpayers. So I've since talked to Tanya, our city CFO. She offered up the Spokane Investment Pool, the SIP pool, similar to our golf loan, as an financing option. It's about a 2% lower rate than we were being offered through private financing. It'll be on a slightly shorter term, so higher payment but lower finance charges to us. And there is a $3,000 bond council underwriting fee, but 2% finance rate difference. I mean, in 1 year, it's roughly going to be a $170,000 loan. That's $3,400 in finance charges. So just in the first year alone, that fee will be more than paid for itself. We actually don't take possession of it for probably 12 to 18 months, but I think there is an advantage to us taking advantage of the rate cycle we're in. As you've read, we're in a bit of a inverted yield curve, so short-term rates are actually lower than long-term rates are actually shorter than the short-term rates. So it's a terrible predictor for our economy and the upcoming recession, but we can take advantage of that for our loan for our Zamboni. So we cannot, as a park staff or park board, approve a SIP loan, but they do need a recommendation or resolution from you recommending that City Council does approve us for a SIP loan that would go to City Council for approval. So that is the action item at hand.
Any questions on that? Again, it is something we approved earlier. We're just moving the source of financing to save some money. All right, if not, I will move that we approve the SIP loan resolution and advance it to the Spokane City Council.
And I will second that.
Jerry, second. Any questions on that before we go to the vote? All right, if we will go ahead, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, respond with aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well done, Rich. You have that one through.
All right, thank you.
So now if you and Jason will, I believe, are kind of teaming up on this one.
Sure, yeah. So we did bring the proposed budget calendar to you a couple months ago. We discussed it, Finance and Park Board, and that has not changed. So that would be part of the action item, just to approve that. with really the tentative agenda is that in August, our round 2 for entry into the system opens back up. So we want the committees to really have the month of August to finalize what they're going to bring to Finance Committee. And then in September, Finance Committee and Park Board would have their first look at the parks roll-up of the entire budget. And then once approved, that would move into the final City Council approval. So still on schedule for what was proposed in the past couple of months. And you want to go to budget priorities? Okay.
We can go to budget priorities, and while we're excited, we walked through these Finance Committee. We recognize as staff, as board members, you do many great things for the community throughout the year. Two big ones in particular. One was the last item I was up here, and that's policy setting for the park department. And then the second thing is minding over the dollars and cents. In your financial, judicial responsibility is second to none, and a lot of that comes from making sure we have very viable and accurate budgets to work from, and then we scrutinize them every month through at Finance Committee and the various committees, and you heard from Rich at the beginning of the meeting today how well we're doing, and that's it's not by accident. It starts here with the budget and the priorities. And so I said lots earlier today, so I'll just kind of cherry pick a few highlights of this proposed budget, but these are the pillars as staff that we will be coming to you in your various committees. And these are the things that we would like you to adopt if you agree with us, that these are the guiding principles that will help build the 2024 budget. And it's going to be these things. It's going to be customer service focused. It will come with solution-driven outcomes. It's going to come with all kinds of collaborations centered to achieve greater community benefit. And as you see the roadmap here, we provide an amazing park and recreation system that advocates for healthy lifestyles, accessibility, community, and the value of play. We develop and manage the responsible, efficient, and equitable use of resources. We stimulate the local economy. We're a major employer, to be honest, and for many people, they talk about their first job, and it was with the City Parks Department. Some of us are still in that first job, just in a different hat, but still there. And Garrett and I are kind of two of those. And we love to hold ourselves accountable and be collaborative through engagement and transparency. Rich did a nice job of building these assumptions. We think we're in line for a general fund growth of 8%. That's the good news. The downside is the costs are going to probably shatter that 8% or soak most of it up. As you can see in the next bullet point, we're thinking staff wages, benefits, service, and charges will increase maybe up of 10%. We're certainly going to review the fund balance for one-time investments and gap funding. We love this core service budgeting model that you helped us create during the COVID pandemic. We think it really helped us refocus on what's essentially important, and then we build out from there. We have to balance our growing staffing costs. Temp seasonal labor right now, if we were to snap a line in the sand, we think we're somewhere 90 to 95 cents a more per hour for next year, and there's still 4 months that can adjust that cost inflation modifier. So it could go up. It could go. I don't think it's going to go lower than 90 cents, but it could change. We track it every quarter. And we're trying to invest in our partnerships, and we know how important they are to our organizations, our volunteers, our sponsors, and our wonderful donors. So with that, just a little bit about each area, and I know you can't see that. This is administration. So, if you remember, we're a park division with several departments. One of our departments is admin, kind of the catch-all. Every year we look at every vacancy that we have, and we make sure that those vacancies are they still relevant jobs to what we need, or could we repurpose one, or can we eliminate it altogether? We're leery to create any new position unless the creation has a net zero impact on the budget. And what that means is if the new position creates a bunch of revenue that offsets the cost of the position, probably something we should think about doing. We love the fleet pilot program. You kindly, as a board, approved another year of that here recently. I think it was at last month's park board meeting. And we'll continue to be super aggressive bringing in new vehicles and getting rid of the old ones that are just so expensive to maintain. Computer replacement. When I started with parks way back when, we didn't even have the thing of the internet was not offered to us in the park department. I'm not sure we had one computer that connected to the internet. Now we all are walking around with phones in our pocket, and we need Wi-Fi, and we need connectivity, and we need faster and bigger, and that comes with a cost.
Hey, Jason,
Yes.
have you looked at the leasing program for computers?
Ooh,
I'm not
we
saying
have
you need
not.
to decide that now, but it's something that we went to, and it actually, you get new
I want
equipment
to
every
visit
3
with
years,
you,
but just
Barb, because our city IT department has not presented that as an option, but maybe here's another opportunity for us Parks and Rec folks to be pioneers in
leaders
in the city. Thank you. I'm going to call you. We need to talk about that. That's cool. Facility safety initiatives, obviously the policy is part of it. Some of it is how we design our facilities to be safer. The master plan implementation, we fully believe we're going to try to come before the voters sometime soon, and that comes with a cost to put an item on the ballot. We want to have that baked into the '24 budget. And of course, the Expo Plus 50 support. I mean, what a cool thing that we get to put on this wonderful summer-long event season, and we want to make sure we can contribute some one-time dollars to that in the '24 budget. Moving on to park operations. Oh, Al's still here, so if you have a stumper of a question, we'll get him down here. His three kind of pillars are creating his future. Al wants to follow on the heels of golf and look at some permanent part-time positions in his department. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity, especially when you value in the cost of recruiting, retention, then releasing them, sometimes paying unemployment. We think it's a better fit. He wants to expand the community with, we're doing staff-led irrigation projects. We have one going right now at Liberty Park. There's plans to do, is it Coeur d'Alene Park, I believe, is the next park up. And we think it's fun where we can use our staff, and our staff put some real sweat equity into our parks. He also wants to expand funding for natural resources for the 2,000 plus acres of undeveloped properties and soft trails that we have. His third thing is protecting assets and if possible, increasing funding for park ranger presence and other things that fall under that heading. Moving on, this is recreation. Jen Papich has several staff that are one of one, and we're worried as they're moving through their career that we want to have a plan of succession and a strategy so that somebody just doesn't retire and we lose all that great wisdom and knowledge and have a gap in service, because things like therapeutic rec really will not tolerate that interruption well. She wants to continue to expand the inclusion and adaptive programming. She wants to address deferred maintenance, such as the needs up at Corbin Arts Center, wonderful old building, but does have needs. And as you know, as a board, you recently approved a cost recovery model for recreation. So that's going to be baked into our 2024 budget priorities. And we want a whole year of seeing how we do. And then, of course, we look at her temp seasonal and trying to evaluate needs, wants, costs. Moving on to Riverfront Park. John, of course, in his cost recovery, he still has lofty goals for him and his team related to sponsorships. Probably the pavilion naming right might be the top tier project in that category. Again, he talks about being the host site for many of the Expo Plus 50 events. We have the Sky Ride, but it requires a ton of maintenance. We want to adequately fund those projects so we don't get to a crisis level situation. Emphasize park safety, being an urban park, program improvement and reliability, building out even little things like the Wi-Fi, Wi-scape around the pavilion. The comments we get from that is just so positive. Supporting our park partners, and we have several, and we could use more, and then marketing, along with keeping the park safe and beautiful. Here in golf, Bob, you did a nice job earlier talking about how golf differs. It's an enterprise fund. It does have a difference. The one thing that's different on this slide from Tuesday, I did add in some capital projects for you. So noteworthy capital projects for 2024 will include equipment replacement, tree work, Indian Canyon bunker sand, and shop water, so water to the shop, and downriver cart paths and water fountains, drinking fountains. There's more, but those are the ones that fit on the slide, so those are kind of the priority ones. And for golf, we have to continue to combat inflationary costs. And I talked to you already about labor, but all the other things are costing more too. Fertilizers, we use a fair amount of fuel and other chemicals. We have buildings that we need to continue to maintain, and we need to budget for our maintenance team to have adequate equipment. And so with that, we will evaluate where our costs are, and then we'll come back to you as a board with our recommended fee increase, if any. And I think the spoiler alert is there will be something. I don't want people sitting at home going, oh, there'll be no fee increase for 24. There's going to have to be, where minimum wage goes up $1. There's no way around it. So those are our budget priorities for the year. I would be happy to entertain any questions and do my best. I do have a couple colleagues here that could also come down and field real specific questions.
Thank you, Jason, very much. Any questions, comments? And again, we're merely approving their plan and their priorities. This is not a budget approval. So if none, we will.
I think Hannah might have a question.
Did you?
I was just going to say thank you for the comprehensive overview of all of the discussions. I know there's a lot more that goes into it than what you shared with us, but that was very informative and helps our decision making, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. The team here builds the PowerPoint and all the cool things that go in it.
No, but it was great to show, Jason. Thank you. I think we needed that.
Any other comments, thoughts? Okay. I will move that we approve the 2024 budget calendar and budget priorities as presented. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Got a second? All right. If no other questions and or comments on that, all those in favor respond with aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. You have an approved budget calendar and priorities, Rich. Thank you. And Jason. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both very much. The Finance Committee, and I'll try to make this short, which is hard to believe for me, but the Finance Committee did meet Tuesday, June 13th at 3 p.m. in the Hive and via WebEx. And Park staff has attended training regarding the usage of library media equipment. And this was the most effective meeting I have been at since the board committee started meeting at the library facilities. And I certainly appreciate and thank you all for making that happen. It was great.
And I'll do an amen. Yay.
I mean, we've all been, I think, at some of the library meetings. They've been tough. So again, thank you.
Well, I attended virtually, and it was good from that end, too.
And we could hear you.
Yeah, it was great. So the next finance meeting will be Tuesday, August 8th at 3 p.m. And we will be in the Shadle Library Events Room and virtually via WebEx.
Oh.
Urban Forestry is next on the list, and the meeting was canceled. Kevin is excused absent at this meeting, and so their next meeting will be August 1st at the Hive Event Center. If you've noticed, the list of committee reports slightly varies from our normal procedure. We're following what the bylaws state, and so again, those have somehow got out of context with, I believe this could be just a housekeeping issue and the changes I could make without having to go through bylaws on that, but maybe you can address that, Hannah, when we go to the bylaws committee. It's up to you now.
Thanks, Bob. We did meet as a committee. The agenda says we met on the 7th. We actually met on the 6th. And the purpose of our meeting was to discuss some reoccurring concerns that had been voiced to us regarding unfinished business items, which just means topics or events, concerns that have come up that did not see a final resolution reached, or if there was that resolution reached, it wasn't communicated to everybody in a way that was satisfactory. The other things that we heard were just comments about the timing and structure of our public comment period and how we operate the bylaws, or under the bylaws, and whether or not what our practices are harmonious with what's stated. The way that the bylaws are able to be amended is if we have first a meeting to discuss the proposed changes, and that's what this is. We'll read through the amendments that were made. If everybody thinks this is great, then we'll move forward, and the next meeting we'll actually vote to adopt them. So that's not what we're doing here. We're just talking about it. But if there are changes or recommendations, we'll come back as a committee and meet again, incorporate and work through those, and then we'll have a second reading. So that's the process for amending the bylaws. The amendments that we incorporated in this draft that was provided in the agenda packet is that we're going to modify the order of agenda items in Section 3 such that public comments are held prior to the consent agenda. Originally, they were lower down on the list, actually right at the end. The reason for this change was because if people are going to be here to make public comments, we want them to have the opportunity to make those comments first so that they don't have to sit through everything that is maybe inapplicable to what their concerns are. So that was one of the first changes that is made in Section 3. We also added language in Section 3 to establish different content and time limitations on the public comment period. So what that means is this was already a customary practice and what we were already empowered to do under the bylaws, but our comments and changes in this section just specifies and kind of flushes it out so that there's not any questions about whether or not what we're doing is correct. So for example, the 3 minutes on limiting public time, or for 3 minutes limiting the amount that somebody speaks, that's something that we do customarily. We incorporated that in our bylaws. Another thing that we did was we restated the president's powers to modify the agenda on a case-by-case basis, such that if a public comment is related to a specific agenda item, instead of having them at the beginning of the meeting, the president can say, we're going to have those agenda items, or we're going to have that public comment after the presentation by the staff. And we also think it's really important for the staff to get their opportunity to explain all of the facts and all the research and all the work that they've done and the content of their proposal before the public comment period begins. So like I said, the president already has the power to do that. We just flushed out those details and tried to make it very clear and concise about what can and cannot be done. Another item that we did was we added language to Section 17.3. There was a conversation about changing Section 3, which the purpose of that being that we would have an unfinished business item as one of the agenda items. We decided that the Section 3, it's really about the park meetings at large, and that's the agenda that Section 3 talks about. The bylaws don't provide a specific agenda for subcommittee meetings. And so we didn't want to add a whole nother section about subcommittee meetings just to make that clarification. So what we did is we instead took 17.3, which already talks about the process where a committee chair works with the director of Parks and Recreation and the president to establish agenda items. And so what we did is we added a section where we said, if there's unfinished business, that conversation should happen before the meeting, and it should be put as a discussion or agenda item at that time. We didn't want to increase the duration of park meetings at large by adding that topic item, because we thought that it could get, it would be just expansive and not very determinative about what we're trying to get done. We had a lot of conversation about this. Mostly, we talked about the fact that all of us here on the park board are volunteers. We are not being paid to be here, and our expectations of how long the meetings are are set, and we understand our responsibilities. But unlike the city council, who this is their job and they know that the meetings will be longer, and they have an open forum for public comment where you can come and talk about things that are on the agenda for next week or that sort of thing. We don't want to incorporate that into what we're doing. We want all public comments to be singularly about items that we're discussing that week. And I think that the ability to comment and send emails via written communication instead of oral communication at a meeting also provides flexibility, and it doesn't close the door to any comments. We are very receptive to comments. We just want them to be accepted and given and provided for at the appropriate time to make sure that everybody not only has the opportunity to give a comment, but also we have an opportunity to respond to it in the context of what the discussion is about. The other things that we did, if you look through the bylaws, you might see that there's some red lines through different things like section titles. All of that was simply because I couldn't help myself when I was formatting the document, and I wanted to make sure that it had a clean eye wash, which is just saying that it looked pretty, and then also is so we could add a table of contents, which I think is just very functional and helpful.
I'm sure glad you chair that committee, Hannah.
You should have seen her. She's a rock star. She did a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I just wanted to clarify something. So the point of keeping unfinished business at the committee level, the subcommittee level, was because that's where those things tend to come up first and then not return. And we don't want to take the time with park board level, dais level discussion. And of course, it's with the chair establishes the agenda, not just with the Parks and Rec director, but with their staff liaison. So.
And then my understanding, it would be up to the individual subcommittee chair as things are decided or kept on. Anyway, they would, in their normal reports, simply report to the park board, this happened or that didn't happen, or anyway, just kind of a refresher. That would be part of their monthly report.
Right. So Greta, for example, with the Hamlin Water Tower, would have said the land committee heard about that, and the Hamlin Water Tower has moved to this public school a lot, so it's no longer a park board issue.
It's now on the south side of the fence instead of the north side.
Or if it never makes it out of committee, we don't even have to report
No.
it to the park.
No,
Correct.
To the full board, because they maybe never heard about it in the
Yeah.
beginning of it, unless they read the minutes, and then they'll read the minutes again. Okay.
So
Thanks, Hannah, that's
Hannah, what's our next step now as a board? What are we doing?
So the next step is, I think to follow it correctly, I need to read the new language that's been inserted.
Okay.
And I think that's important also because I mentioned a 3-minute time limit. When we drafted this, we ended up actually putting in a 2-minute time limit. So that's something that is up for discussion. This is why we bring the information to everybody to make these decisions. So just starting through the new information, the agenda, we added the public comment period. In section 3.3, we wrote, each speaker providing public comment shall be limited to no more than 2 minutes unless the president elects to extend the time allotted to a speaker. All public comments provided during the public comment period shall be related to items on the agenda for that meeting. Any public comments not related to items on the agenda for that meeting must be submitted to the park board via email or mail. In section 3.4, we said, the president may elect to accept public comments related to a specific action item following any presentations by staff and during the park board's discussion of such action item, instead of during the initial public comments period. And finally, in section 17.3, section 3 and 17.3 reads, the chair of each committee shall consult with the director of Parks and Recreation or the designee to establish the agenda of the meetings, and the new language is, which shall include unfinished business items.
Oh.
So based on that reading, we as a board can vote to proceed with this and move forward, or if there's changes, we can take it back to the committee.
If we just want to change 2 minutes to 3, we can just do that right here, right now, right? Yeah.
I think that's
a
acceptable.
housekeeping issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes at city council, but our tradition is 3.
Yeah, I think it worked well today,
Okay.
to have the 3.
So any objections to changing that to 3 from anyone with the board? All right.
Great. So then I will make the motion.
Oh, Greta?
I actually have a question. Did I hear you correctly that people are not community is not allowed to come and make public comment on something that is not
Yes.
on the agenda. So, for instance, the public comment we heard, I think, the last meeting about pickleball.
Yes.
And the reason behind that is,
It's off guard. I mean, they're just here, and it's kind of in air.
I think the concern was the length of how long would the meetings get?
Yeah.
If we just have anybody talking about anything, I mean,
Yeah.
we could be up here for hours.
And I'd like to also add what we have in the bylaws. That's our structure, and that's what we go off of. But of course, the president has the authority to be flexible. So if somebody comes up and wants to talk about pickleball, we're not going to stop them in their tracks and say, you know,
sorry, go home.
sorry,
right?
go home. Once
Yeah.
it's on the agenda, then you can talk about it. No, we have the ability within the bylaws to be flexible in those things. We're just creating the general standard.
Because pickleball, who knows when it's going to be on
Right.
the agenda.
It could never be on the
And
agenda.
It
Yep.
may never be on our agenda. And to me, it means a little bit more when a person takes the effort to come down here and talk
Right.
to us in person
Absolutely.
and just shoot
Right.
out an email. So I guess I would maybe like to revisit that.
Well, I think
requirement.
I hear what you're saying, Greta. The point being is that we can still do that within, you know, our purview when it's immediately happening.
I'd like to say that our preference would be for them to email or write in
Right.
via correspondence. That is our standard.
That's our stat.
And this would also give us the discretion to limit, if we have 25 people wanting to talk about something that's not on the agenda,
Yeah.
that we talked about the prior meeting, we can say no to that one at the meeting.
And that doesn't happen very often.
No.
No.
Based on my experience on the park board. I guess I'd prefer if we maybe softened up the language. I don't want to discourage people from coming down here.
What if we added something at the end of that section that said something like, for the avoidance of doubt, nothing in this section prohibits the park board from accepting comments unrelated to action and agenda items on a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that'd be, everybody's okay with
But
that.
even with something like pickleball, shouldn't we be directing them to the proper committee
That would go to recreation.
so that can have a discussion, and then it could possibly
should.
get elevated to the
Yeah.
park board? But just coming to the park board and talking to us about it doesn't do any good.
No.
Well, and that's why
Other
we
than-
encourage it to be submitted via email or
Yes.
mail, because then that
Yes.
comment can be directed to the correct
Right.
subcommittee.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. We could then, like you say, direct them, in that case, the Recreation Committee is the appropriate area. And once it goes through there, it can maybe be on the agenda.
Okay, so are there any more questions or comments before I make a motion?
Just a comment of thank you.
Yes, definitely.
My pleasure. So I move to adopt the amended park board bylaws as presented, provided, however, that we will be changing 2-minute comment period to 3-minute comment period and adding a proviso at the end of the section regarding the content of the public comment, clarifying that it allows, or that the park board has the discretion to accept comments that are not on the agenda items on a case-by-case basis.
I do have one clarification.
I think we have a second, and then we have discussion on the motion.
Oh, sorry. Since this isn't an action item in the agenda, I thought per bylaws, you had, the first reading was just the discussion, and then you came back as a second reading for a approval.
We did talk about that, and then we also discussed modifying it as we go, but there's just motion wording in the briefing paper, so I was following that. But we can go by the bylaws as well, if that's
Only because we're amending the reading at the dais.
But not amending the bylaws.
No, that would
Amending
be,
the changes to the bylaws on the dais.
Okay.
that would be at the next meeting where we change the bylaws, right?
Don't need a motion then, Hannah.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
Okay.
excellent.
Getting into the weeds of parliamentarian.
Ironically, in the bylaws.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And just a suggestion on process, we should include that kind of good stuff right on this form also, something that says,
Yes.
please limit to 3 minutes.
Yeah, good idea.
Something that talks about
And Jerry will
it
be
should be on
timing
the
you.
agenda and so on.
Oh,
Anyway, let's make this public comment sheet reflect what our actual process is, and we can certainly work with that. Let's move on to the DVC, Jennifer.
Okay. So the DVC did not meet, however, the DVCAC met, and we have our, as usual, capable, very capable Kelly Brown to present about that. I know, she had to sit through the whole meeting.
We should move DVCAC to the beginning.
Hello. We met on June 22nd, and we discussed procedures for fundraising for the groups that don't have as much experience with it, and talked about ways for them to engage with their donors and potential sponsoring organizations. We're actively pursuing more committee members, and we've been tasked to reach out to neighborhood councils for prospects. We decided to combine the DVC meetings and the CAC meetings to simplify it because there's so much overlap. And our next meeting is July 19th at 3 p.m. at the Liberty Park Library.
Thank you, Kelly. And to add on to what she said, no, you don't have to come back, it's okay. We just want to see you pirouette. The DVC members were invited to come to the DVCAC meetings so that we could talk about the issue of not having so much duplication, of moving the order of the meetings so that the CAC comes first, much like they do in urban forestry, and then the DVC is right afterwards, because a lot of what the CAC talks about feeds right into the DVC. There is some overlap in membership, and it just is more efficient. Therefore, the DVCAC next month will meet at 4 o'clock. Get my glasses on.
I know that feeling.
Yes. At 4 o'clock, July 19th, at the Liberty Park Library Events Room, followed immediately by the DVC at 4:30 in the same location.
okay.
And so there's, as I said, sometimes overlap in information and even people. So there we are.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Kelly. We will move down to reports. We're getting to the finish here, everyone. Thank you all.
Good job.
President's report. Riverfront Park was the center of Spokane and regional attention with Hoop Fest and July 4th fireworks, amongst other festivities. The Neighborhood Parks Investment Executive Team has met 3 times and is meeting again Monday the 17th from 10 to 12. Jerry, Jennifer, and Kevin volunteered to serve on the Park Board Member Nomination Committee. They interviewed 3 candidates on Tuesday, July 11th, and they were very impressed with all of them. In fact, they wished that we had a 12-member board so we could bring all 3 in as members. And I'm wondering, maybe that's why they asked me if I would consider early retirement. I'm not sure on that one. So the next step is to determine the top 2 and send this list to the mayor for her approval, and then her selection will be forwarded to the council for final approval. We still need a member to serve on the Joint Arts Committee, and please let me know if willing to help. And it's time to start planning a fall board retreat. So I will send out an email asking for members' suggestions and work with park staff to determine a time and location. I would prefer waiting until we have our new board member. Hopefully that'll be soon. And so our next board meeting will be August 10th at 3:30 in the City Council chambers and via WebEx. And just as another point to make, Christina, thank you for staying with us. I would certainly really appreciate it. I know you have so much on your agenda, but the fact that you're here is a big help. Now let's move to liaison reports. The first one of those would be Nick Sumner on Conservation Futures.
I have nothing new to report.
All right. Parks Foundation, Barb?
Well, good evening, everybody. I have a very lengthy report tonight. Just kidding. Spokane Parks Foundation met on June 28th. They have 3 new Hamblin Society members, which are those that have left parks in their estate plan. They received notification that they've been awarded a $45,000 grant from the City of Spokane. The grant is funded by the American Rescue Plan Act and is meant to provide assistance to local nonprofits specifically for operations. They continue to keep expenses low and continue to track according to budget forecasts. As you know, Yvonne Trudeau is really their only employee. And Summer Parkways is now under the auspice of the Spokane Parks Foundation, and they kicked it off. It was extremely successful. There was only one issue. The flaggers didn't show up, apparently, the certified flaggers. So next year, they're going to look for the city police to control the intersections. They currently have 43 policies governing the foundation, and that seems like an awful lot of policies and procedures. So they're honing in on doing some work around their investment and administrative policies. Their next meeting, so they're not meeting every month, so I don't know for future agendas if I need to actually report on this, but their next meeting isn't until October 25th, so that's exciting. And then final note, they have a board member that actually has something to do with the Inlander. You may know who that person is. And they do offer free advertising for the Spokane Parks Foundation. So I noticed it's right there, maybe. The Greater Spokane Parks Challenge and the work in the outdoors specifically, they're having some advertising throughout the summer for events. So there you go. End of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. City Council, Councilman Bingle had to leave, so Director Garrett Jones.
All right, thank you. Real quickly, this month is National Parks and Recreation Month, so this Monday at City Council, the mayor was able to graciously do a proclamation for Parks and Recreation and all the great work that our team does. And just highlighting too, again, 4th of July weekend in Riverfront Park with the carnival presented by ICCU and the fireworks and Spokane Symphony. We estimated 45,000 visitors just in that one little weekend. Also, right now is the Rosars Open at Indian Canyon Golf Course, so kudos to the staff and that team. The course looks fantastic. And then also year-to-date, about 35,000 people have visited our aquatic centers just at this point in time early in the summer. So huge numbers that we're seeing at our aquatic centers. And then you also have a copy that shows all the hard work that our recreation staff does for the summer and I can't believe fall activity guide, but it is ready out there. So you'll see it at grocery stores, newsstands, and then also digital as well. So thank you, and that's the end of my report.
All right, as you noticed, we did move public comments up, so they've already been taken care of. Correspondence, the board did have an email from a member of the Minnehaha Neighborhood Council.
Oh, yeah, we saw
She
that.
was supporting the new High Bridge Dog Park resolution. So if nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting at 5:51, and it is my goal that we get out of here before 5:31.
Hey, boss, I think you're leaned up against the dais pushing your mute button.
Oh, could be, could be. It's been that kind of a night. Anyway, we're going to adjourn our meeting at 5:51, and we'll get out of here before 5:30 next time, I hope. Thank you all. Thank you for everybody's attention to this meeting.
Hey, Bob. Meeting.